What's up everybody? I've made way too many gear videos lately, so today I'm going to switch things up and I'm going to do one about storytelling. So storytelling is one of the things that of course all filmmakers struggle with, but especially I think travel filmmakers like me, because we're shooting these videos that have no exact plan in advance. We don't have a script, we haven't written it all out. So the videos end up usually having a lot of cool shots and maybe some really fancy edits, but they don't really feel like they're going anywhere story-wise. So how do you fix that? Well, I'm going to give you a simple technique that I use all the time. And by the way, if you like this video, be sure to check out the link in the description for my Film School Unscripted Studio, because I have an entire course there on improvised storytelling. A lot of filmmakers, especially filmmakers who started off as photographers, tend to think in terms of isolated shots instead of complete scenes. Let's go through a few examples. A man releasing an eagle, that's a shot. A man going hunting is a scene. A tram going down the road is a shot. A man starting up a tram is a scene. Someone standing on a hill, that's a shot. Climbing up the hill is a scene. So the question is, how do we go from filming isolated shots to filming complete scenes? Here's the technique that I use. I just think of a shot that I really want to get, some super cool shot. And then I imagine what happened before it and what happens after. So in other words, what specific things need to happen to lead us up to this awesome moment? And then what would be a satisfying conclusion afterward? Then I make a plan to shoot those elements and I come away with a complete scene. And instead of just getting a few seconds of usable footage, I'll get several minutes of story that I can use to build my edit. So in storytelling terms, you could think of your really cool shot as like the climax of the scene. Then the what happened before stuff is the rising action. And the what happens after stuff is the falling action. And once you've figured out that basic structure, you can start thinking about the smaller moments that need to happen along the way. And those are your story beats. And those will usually end up being 1 or 2 shots each, and each story beat will communicate one building block of the scene, one breadcrumb that leads you to the climax or to the falling action. So from this point, you could plan out the whole scene in a script or with storyboards or a shot list, or you could do what I do and just kind of prepare it all mentally and then improvise when you shoot. If you don't have much experience though, I suggest at least writing some ideas down in advance. Alright, let's go to an example of a simple scene that I filmed in Brazil for my video, The Art of Flow. Being at peace with nature and with each other. And if I can keep this feeling with me, I know I'll be a better person and a happier person. So there's some cross-cutting going on there, but I'll just focus on the capoeira portion, which is a complete scene on its own. The main shot here that I wanted to get was of the guys doing spinning kicks in the air, because that just looks really cool. But I started filming the sequence from the opening handshake of the match. I made sure to get close-ups of the hands and close-ups of the faces. I actually had the guys do the handshake 5 or 6 times so I could capture it from multiple angles. Then I let them play capoeira for a while and I improvised camera moves around them. And then I specifically directed them to do the fancy spinning kicks just for camera. These were the main shots I needed, so I had to make sure everything looked just right. Then I directed the guys to hug after they were finished, and this was the falling action of the scene. And then they decided to run into the ocean. This wasn't really part of the scene that I had planned, but they just wanted to cool off. And actually, I didn't catch it quite right the first time because they took me by surprise. So I had them do it again just for me, and they were happy to do that. I ended up not using that moment in the final edit, but it was great to have it. Whenever I'm filming any scene, I try to capture not just the action that happens, but also the reactions of the people involved. A lot of travel videos tend to show a lot of action and not a lot of reactions. We see beautiful sights, we see people doing all sorts of cool things, but we don't really get to see how the people are feeling about all of it. So the video ends up feeling hollow and a bit empty. In a movie, the characters' reactions are what the audience really cares about. The reactions that those people have tell the audience how to feel. Think of a sports game on TV. Why do they cut to the fans? The fans have no direct impact on the game, so why not just focus on the players? Well, it's because the fans' reactions keep you emotionally engaged in the game and you keep watching. We want to know how other people feel. It gets us more emotionally involved in the video and more interested in the video. Now, this may seem really obvious, but it's actually really easy to forget it when you're out there shooting, especially if you're filming something that isn't scripted and you need to react quickly. So, here's what I do. Every time something important happens, I turn around and I film someone's reaction to it. That's it. I film an action, and then I find someone's reaction, and I film that too. It's like the peanut butter and the jelly, the action and the reaction. So going back to that capoeira example, notice how I made sure to get close-ups of the players' faces before and after the match. I wanted to clearly communicate the positive mood here without relying on the music or without relying on voiceover or some other editing technique. It's much stronger to see that emotion on the people's faces during the scene. Okay, here's the final part of this little lesson. It's a game that I play in my mind as I plan how to shoot a scene. It's called the So What test. What I do here is I take each little moment of the story and I ask, so what? Or why should anybody care? And then I try to come up with an answer to that. For instance, two guys shake hands before capoeira. So what? Why should the audience care? Well, the handshake symbolizes the respect that the players have for each other. Okay, so that's what I need to show in my story beat. I need to communicate mutual respect to the audience. I should make that as clear as possible for the audience. So what I did when I filmed this was I made sure the guys each gave each other this little nod after the handshake. That little nod, that was a direction from me to show the respect that these guys had for each other, make it more clear. So as I mentally build each beat of a scene, I keep asking myself, so what? Why should the audience care? And then I challenge myself to find the strongest answer possible, and I try to make that come across as clearly as possible on screen. So to recap, next time you're planning on filming some cool shot, just ask yourself, what rising action can I film to build up to this moment? And what falling action can I film afterward? Then ask yourself, what specific story beats do I need to show for each of these sections in this scene? And what reaction shots will let my audience know how my characters are feeling? And then you can test your shooting plan by asking, so what? Why should people care about this? And see if you have a good answer for that. After I've shot all these complete scenes and I get to the editing phase, I actually usually end up throwing away most of the story beats. But that's all part of the plan. I overshoot on purpose to give myself lots of editing options because it's so much easier to cut a good video from complete scenes rather than from random shots that don't fit together. Alright, so that is the lesson. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to learn a whole lot more, check out the video description for a link to my film school Unscripted Studio. Alright, I'll see you next time.